With AI technology developing at breakneck speed, experts are warning of an explosion of deepfake online videos. Many people are falling victim and their identities being used without consent to create digital content, sometimes with dubious motives. We meet a woman now whose face has been used to make thousands of fake videos.
About a month after Olga Loyek started her YouTube channel, she began receiving some very strange messages. People were asking her if she spoke Mandarin. The 21-year-old Ukrainian initially thought it was a joke, but then she decided to watch some of the videos people were sharing with her.
And I saw that this is literally like my face speaking Mandarin, and on the background I'm seeing Kremlin and Moscow, and I'm like talking about things like how great Russia and China are.
Olga's image is being used to spread Russian propaganda and to sell Russian products in China. Here, she translates one of the videos into English.
I really appreciate China. While everyone else is moving away from Russia, only China is behind the quiet support. When other countries reject Russian stuff, it's your support to help Russia meet its immediate needs.
Olga has discovered she has multiple digital doppelgangers, none of whom actually exist. One of them appears to be a Russian woman named Natasha, who says she wants to support Russia's war by selling products from her homeland. Olga says one company in China told her that some 5,000 videos have been created with her face on their platform alone. Xmov is a company in China that develops advanced AI technology. It says the tech behind such deepfake videos is very common in China. The company was not involved in Loyek's situation, but the CEO Jim Chai says the videos show just how easy deepfakes are to produce.
Actually, the only AI technology used here is lip syncing. So if ordinary people don't pay attention to the lips, they may not notice the difference.
The explosion in the number of deepfake videos appearing online clearly demonstrates how easy they are to produce. And experts say, as the technology improves, the problem is only going to get even bigger.
I'd like to welcome Henry Ajder, an expert on AI and deepfakes. He advises institutions like the European Commission, as well as tech companies like Meta and Adobe. So let's start with the big question. How common are cases like the one that we've just seen in that report, where a Ukrainian woman is appearing in these Chinese videos promoting Russia?
Yeah, good morning. So these cases, at least cases of this kind, where someone is being kind of puppeteered, turned into a sort of digital puppet for promoting services, for selling services, in this context, it's still quite rare. Obviously, this one is especially loaded from your report because of the nature of the current conflict in Ukraine and the nationality of the victim. But I think what's key is what came up in your report is that the tools for creating these kinds of avatars often now only require a few minutes of voice, audio and video. And so essentially the victim profile could be anyone. It is no longer the case. We need hours and hours of footage being run through difficult to use algorithms. These are gamified and incredibly easy to use tools which require much less data. So it's a growing problem, although one that isn't incredibly widespread in terms of the number of victims at the moment.
But surely no one would enjoy having their likeness misused by others toward their ends. Is there anything that someone can do to stop this from happening?
So it's a difficult question because obviously, as mentioned, now that the tools are becoming so efficient based on the amount of data they require to kind of train the model to create the fakes, in some cases, you only need one image to start creating a kind of puppet of someone that can animate their face, animate their facial movements. In terms of voice audio, new research came out the other day from Microsoft that has found that they can generate what they see as human parity synthetic voice audio from 3 seconds of voice audio.
Wow.
So because there's such a small barrier now in terms of the amount of data required and the sophistication of the actual outputs is so high, it's really difficult. I think what we should be saying is less what should people do, because ultimately it's going to be really hard for them to be able to stop themselves being targeted. It's more about what can the companies that are developing these tools do to introduce better safety measures, to introduce potentially biometric authentication, and other kinds of ways of verifying that you are who you say you are, and that you're the person who gets to control how your synthetic likeness is presented.
And perhaps what the companies are doing based on regulation. We know the EU is considered to be rather strict when it comes to regulating AI. Can you give us an overview of what the situation is like worldwide?
Well, worldwide, the picture is very irregular, I guess you could say. Many different countries have not really passed formal legislation which covers the whole range of different AI technologies which are rapidly emerging right now, particularly those that are generative or create synthetic outputs. I think the EU obviously has taken a very comprehensive approach and a very rigorous approach. Obviously, we need to see now if they can actually enforce that legislation consistently across the bloc. But I think we are going to see a very interesting map emerging over the next few years of some countries taking a much more hands-off approach, perhaps trying to encourage innovation and companies to come build there, whilst other countries will be trying to introduce much stricter regulation, but perhaps struggling to enforce that in a world where digital boundaries online don't really care about nation states. So the regulatory picture is a challenging one. There's certainly a role for regulators to play, but it's certainly not kind of universally accepted how to approach this around the world.
I have to ask, with all these possible dangers, you end up wondering whether deepfake technology could also have a positive benefit of any kind.
Absolutely. I think one thing that's really critical for your audience to understand is that a lot of the baseline technologies that are referred to as deepfakes are referred to as generative AI or synthetic media when they're used creatively or commercially or in pro-social ways. The same kind of voice cloning tools here that have translated the victim's voice in these Chinese videos could also be used to help you speak to, colleagues in other countries in a way that makes them feel like they're speaking to you. It's also a technology that can help people who have lost the ability to speak have a personalized voice that sounds like them, or making different kinds of training materials much more engaging using avatars rather than just a big text manual. So there's a lot of things with synthetic media, with AI generated content we can be excited about. It's just that, as with most technologies, that's dual use. There are harms that can be caused. We refer to those as deepfakes, but again, don't get confused the fact that they are fundamentally using the same baseline generative technologies.
Henry Ajder, thank you so much for joining us today on DW News.
Thank you.